I'm of the belief at this point that it cannot be salvaged. And I know that might seem like an extremist position for some folks, and let me tell you why. I think all of these things, the system itself is so toxic. It's so, the gangs, culture, the things you're talking about, the insular code of silence, all of these things are so ingrained, I don't think you can reform them. I think we need to start over. And I know that's probably, some people would say, an extreme position, but I understand why people are saying, abolish the police. What they're saying here is like, this is so screwed up and so messed up. We can't trust our police officers. Yes, we want somebody that investigates serial killers, rapists, these things. No, we don't want these guys running around being criminals, being racist, shooting people for no reason, being violent. This is being like a military. It's almost as if the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department have become like we're being occupied by a military presence in a lot of ways with the way they handle their business. And I know that's something else you talked about, because it didn't always used to be this way. We've seen this ante get upped, through the years, right? And the budget now is, for the LAPD, is now 54% of the city budget. That is absolutely insane. 54%. So they're using all of this money to buy these military type toys.
Or to pay lawsuits.
Or to pay...
The city of New York...
You're right on this. Or to pay lawsuits.
The city of New York has $700 million, almost $1 billion, set aside each year. $700 million. Okay, set aside
to pay lawsuits.
To pay lawsuits.
This is insanity.
Can you imagine that? Yeah.
No, I can't imagine it, but I believe it. I believe it's true. I mean, the litigation against the LAPD is pretty large at this point as well. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do we just blow it up and start over with something, replace it with something that makes more sense? Or do you actually believe that there's still some reforms that can be put in place?
Well, a lot of people are saying they can't change and they don't want to deal with it, especially those who've lost family members to police violence.
Yeah.
They've been screaming for the longest. I know that if I lost one of my children, I might retaliate and do something foolish too. I'm not trying to stoke any.
No, I think you're being frank. No, you're being frank.
Right. I would be. I don't care who it was. Someone hurt one of my kids. I give a lot of kudos to these family members that, I've known throughout the years who just lost their children, their loved ones, their sons, daughters, and there was no reason for that. And so this is why these two officers did what they did. And again, I'm not for that. Okay, I was a police officer. I've been shot at.
Yeah.
I've been stabbed. I've been ran over. All these things have happened to me. So I know that I can speak with authority on
what that's
this,
like. Yeah.
Rather than somebody that says, oh, they should execute this person that did this callous murder, and that we shouldn't talk about this because we're bringing more violence. We need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Suppressing this here and not talking about the violence that was projected against these two deputies is precisely why these problems go on and continue, because we let them fester, just like the racism. We've known that there's been racism forever, but we don't talk about it. We're being forced to talk about it now, but generally speaking, don't talk about that. It makes me feel uncomfortable,
Right. No, especially, here's the thing, that they could have gone a different route, and they chose not to, right? So they used the ideas of racism in the department as a cudgel, right? They knew it existed. Daryl Gates knew it existed for sure.
Right.
And it never improved since then. It's just always been there, and it was never dealt with. But they used it as a cudgel at this point. So they could have said, we got to do something about this, and change the culture. They chose not to. And I would imagine also that the racism is from the top to the bottom. I can imagine that the lieutenants, et cetera, came up in that same environment, are also seeing things in a very racist way. So what do we replace the police with then? What is your idea? You work now, let me talk a little about what you're doing now. So you're doing activism on the other side. So
yes.
You're a private detective. You work with families that have suffered from police brutality. So I know you've been in Ferguson, you've been in Baltimore, here in Los Angeles. So you absolutely are quite literally on the other side, helping these families out, helping them with their cases against the police department. And you have obviously the skills to do that because you've been on both sides.
Right. But I've also been there as an activist because I wanted to see this myself. I wanted to see these phenomenons of other riots, not just the LA riots that I was in, which was the mother of all riots.
The mother, 92,
but being in Ferguson, being chased down in Baltimore by a really bad super pig who's now currently doing 18 years in Club Fed. Okay, and so really trying to understand and grasp and deal with my own racism, my own issues, and my PTSD, which is still there, and at the same time trying to help out the police. Okay, I am not against the police. I have sisters, brother-in-laws that are coppers that I love and adore. But I also want to be able to see one day a police department or sheriff's department that treats people good. You know, that could be my kid. Could be your kid or anybody else's. And I venture to say that, you know, these police officers that are out there murdering, because I know a lot of cops who have also lost children to the police.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it all changes this dynamic, you know, that we, as law enforcement officers, we paint these people as really bad people. So we have to change that way of thinking.
Well, that's an interesting point you're making right now. You paint them as really bad people. It's as if you other them and say, well, they're automatically bad. It justifies anything I do to them, even if that's not true.
Absolutely, yeah. I saw people getting choked out for no reason. Go get that asshole right there. And racial profiling. I mean, it's all there going on. I mean, the people haven't been about this for no reason. It's been happening.
It's absolutely justified.
It's fallen on deaf ears. What needs to change? And traditionally, the police can do no wrong, especially when they're backed by their unions and they're paying the politicians. And, And
the unions, I think, are a really bad problem. Let's talk about the unions for a second. We had recently during the Black Lives Matters protests that we've had here. I found some of the Twitter feeds for some of the police unions, and one of their attorneys was on Twitter saying, shoot them all, shoot the protesters, shoot them all. Like, just saying that and not thinking for even a second that was inappropriate or wrong or bad or any of it. She obviously felt comfortable enough to say this publicly. And she was saying this behind videos of protesters. She got called out on it, so she protected her account after that. But I got the screenshots of this. But obviously there's a viewpoint inside the police unions as well, where no matter what, the person that got shot is a criminal. They do that. They you see them do that in the media too. They go after the victim and they make the victim automatically the bad guy no matter what, right?
Absolutely.
They victimize him in ways that are, this person, and it's random stuff. She bounced a check in 2010.
Right, that's the second death, is the character assassination that goes on in the aftermath. Like, they're justified for shooting someone because they wrote a bad check or because they got into it with their wife, and has nothing to do at all.
Or justify the murder,
Right, but to justify, because they have to have a reason for taking a life.
And it can't possibly be their racism.
Right.
So what do we do?
Well, we need to change the culture. We need to start offering more protection for lamplighters, for truth exposure, whistleblower police officers that are now starting to come out. So if there's good police officers, you can't hide anymore. You have to treat these people as human beings. You're no better than them, and you've been brainwashed. Okay, I don't care whether it's on the local level, state, or federal. Okay, these are human beings, and the public isn't going to take this anymore as we can talk.
That's right.
And so what's frightening here is there's an element here which are the people who've been victimized, and there's another element that says it's okay to continue with this treatment of minorities or poor people because they're shit. And so we need to change that. We really need to talk about, at roll call meetings, about racism.
Yeah.
We need to have officers that are able to get rid of this junk that they have in their minds, because they carry it on them all the time. I mean, it's no wonder that they experience domestic violence problems, that they experience all these relationship problems. They're not able to stay faithful. They have all these alcoholism issues. I mean, there's a multitude, a plethora of problems, that most police officers don't ever think that they'll face. That's not going to happen to me. But in the end, they're a wreck.
Yeah.
And soon after they retire, many of them, they just die because they're that lifestyle of living on the edge with the adrenaline going through them.
All the time,
it just stops. And that's it. They gave their life. There is no blue family. They will crucify you if you bring or you tarnish the badge because you got caught.
Yeah.
Okay, they know this is going on, but you got caught.
You're the one that got caught doing it.
You're the one that brought disgrace to the department.
It's not actually the actions that are bringing the disgrace, it's the fact that you got caught doing the wrong thing.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.